everyone. It's Dr. Kim. I am so happy to be here today. This is a topic a lot heavier than what we typically talk about on MindBody TV, but it is so necessary. And many people right now are struggling with this. Depression, anxiety, depression kind of tends to go together, but specifically suicidality, when you feel like I'm done, it's over, there's no way to move through this, and you're considering taking your own life, or even not necessarily getting to that level where that's your next step, but wishing you somehow could just get off the planet. I know there are many more people who've met that space than who have actually attempted suicide or thought about attempting. So I want to open this up to a broader audience. And I want to say, starting off at the beginning, that I am aware there will be people who found this video who are at that brink. And I will do my best to stay as present and connected with my heart, to speak from my own authentic experience. This is not about be positive or try to overcome this. This is really about our ability to meet the depths of human experience with willingness and open to our light, so that we can move through them instead of getting stuck in them, instead of buying into the beliefs that go along with them, instead of being burdened by the heaviness that comes with despair, grief, and depression, and then actually making choices based on that. So I want to start off by saying that all of us do meet heaviness, despair, grief. We don't always necessarily acknowledge it. We might distract, we might go on Facebook and look around at what everybody else is doing, or actually keep ourselves in a job we hate because it's keeping us busy and distracted from that life that we love, and knowing we deserve it and we can have it. The ways we make ourselves wrong for all of this is really the biggest thing that keeps us stuck in that frequency of grief, despair, and depression. Now, if we remember, we are not primarily physical beings. We are actually energetic beings having a vibrational experience. It is much easier to understand what's happening with suicidality, with anxiety, and with depression. Now, as a receptor, as an energy being, we are a receptor. We're actually receptive to the thoughts, frequencies, energies of the planet, of humanity, of those around us. And especially if you're empathic, you will have noticed this. You'll notice, oh, I can't be around negative people, or oh my God, there's such a burden to take this on or work with people as a practitioner. But it doesn't need to be experienced like that. When we enter into greater amounts of compassion, we can actually move through energies like this more fluidly. Doesn't mean it's compassion for everyone else out there. It means it's our willingness to actually meet our own pain. Now, this is not an easy thing to do if you haven't embraced a higher level of light, if you haven't embraced in some way the awareness, I am divine, I am worthy. I'm worthy of forgiveness of everything I think I did wrong in the past that has led to this. I'm worthy of knowing that I can be free and this is not my true state. I'm worthy of knowing this is not the inevitable thing that I'm going to deal with the rest of my life, and I either live with it or die. When we are aware that we are infinite, we are vibrational, we are energetic, we are not this physical body, it's a lot easier to access that and begin to be aware that this is a state that I'm plugging into. Despair, grief, hopelessness is an energetic vibration. It's a state that we as a receptor can get on the channel of. We can get on the doom and gloom channel, and we will think doom and gloom thoughts, and our brain will light up with doom and gloom memories and awareness of all the ways it's really not okay. It doesn't mean it's true. And I'm not taking away how real that experience is. It is so real. And one of the most challenging things, especially like shame, that we can experience in the body. But it doesn't mean it's real. So if you are feeling depressed or suicidal and you begin to witness it, the thoughts, the ideas, the beliefs, or even write them down. This sucks, I'll never make it, it's hopeless, this blonde chick is full of crap, and one more person just trying to convince me otherwise. Whatever it is that actually comes up on that frequency, write it down and let yourself begin to observe it. Even if you really believe it's true right now, to let it actually externalize. This is what I'm feeling, thinking, and experiencing right now. And then actually feel into your heart. Bring your awareness to this space of your heart. The technology of your body is lined up to assist you with this. And take 10 breaths into this space of your heart. Just bring your awareness into this area in your chest. Breathe in, let light come in. You can just see the light coming in. And then exhale, breathe out and let go everything that you're seeing, thinking, feeling, and noticing. Okay. Breathe in, let the light come in to the space of your heart. Keep your attention on your heart. Breathe out and allow all of this to release. This works for us not only when we're in despair, when we're in heaviness, when we're in that space of like, I will never make it through this. It actually works in every moment of our lives to create a new alignment, to bring us into a deeper connection with ourselves and access. It lets us access higher consciousness. When we're in this lower frequency, even if it's just anger, not necessarily as low as grief, shame, despair, hopelessness. That's kind of like the bottom of the frequency scale. At any point, it will allow us to access higher light, meaning we release what we're holding and what we're seeing and what we're experiencing as true, and we allow something higher to come in. This is how the technology of your energy body is set up. I came across Christina. She's, and I really don't know how to pronounce her last name yet. It's Bjorndal. And I've only spoken with her briefly because I knew our conversation would be something really, really profound that I want to record. I read an article. She's also a doctor. She's an MD. I read an article she wrote about her experience of attempted suicide. And one of the things she said was that her, the beliefs she was in, like, it's not okay, this is inescapable, I've got to get out of this, I'll never make it, I'll just deal with this the rest of my life. Well, everything changed after she actually lived through the experience. But one of the big things that changed was she had a new awareness of how she is spiritually actually meant to go through that experience, not and find a deeper meaning. Find a deeper ability of like, why am I actually here? Why am I actually going through this experience? And beginning to develop the awareness that I am not this grief or this hopelessness, that it's not the highest truth that's available to me. And that you could succumb and go in that direction, but it will ultimately come up again. We do not end with death. It will ultimately come up again for us to go through and move through and see our way beyond. This is not about being strong enough to be positive and like get beyond it. All right, so I'm gonna pause here and do everything I can to have Christina come in. Okay, I'm gonna just continue this, and we're gonna do this separately because I don't have Christina in the group. So sorry about the little mix up here. I'm gonna start another live after I complete this, so hang on and stay present. So let me just complete what we're speaking about here with what it's actually like to go through this experience, and what your brain will tell you is true, and what's actually happening energetically. When we align, even if it's just, we think of the vibrational scale, at the highest level, we're in our truth. I am in freedom. All is well. I'm connected with everyone. I'm part of life. I'm moving fluidly. It's all okay. And then we come down to these like lower levels of frustration. Oh, maybe it can be okay, but right now it's not. And I got to work harder, and I got to do more, and I got to figure it out. And we're still kind of trying to have that happen, but we're in a frequency where it's not fluid. You come down even lower, and you're in the frequency of anger. It's not okay. It's not fair. This shouldn't have happened. You're fighting against life. Somewhere you've bought into these limited ideas about yourself, about what's happening, and your body knows like, no, that's not true. And you want to reject it, but you're not conscious enough of what are you buying into that's so toxic, so anger. And then you get even lower into fear, and even lower into grief, depression, hopelessness, despair. So when we realize that we are vibrational, we're tuning into these lower frequencies, and it's anchoring our consciousness, it's anchoring our attention, it's anchoring our experience. Even our physical body will tense up and manifest symptoms and manifest disease. It doesn't mean that that is the truth of us. I am this disease. I am depressed. I am a depressive person, or I have anxiety. I know for me in the past, it was a label. Oh, you have generalized anxiety. You have major depression. You have, that these labels would come on, but you are not a static physical being. Even if it is in your DNA, it's not a static thing that you have to just live with. There is no way you can live with that level of depression in your body and just try to get through. And I understand why so many people will get to the point of like, well, maybe I will just end it, because they don't see another way out, or don't have another perspective of what is really going on. So it's right that your body feels that contracted and feels that bad when you buy into what you're hearing on that channel, what you're feeling on that channel, what you're believing on the channel of hopelessness and despair. And I wanted to share here, it's just a frequency. It's not the truth of you. It's not the truth of what is like your system, your body, your DNA, your brain. Your brain will repattern immediately and instantly. This begins when you connect into a higher harmonic. So for me, when I would come into those states, I would immediately, not immediately, because a lot of times I would sit there for a long time feeling really, really bad. But years and years and years, learning to begin to work with my energy body in a different way, put my hand on my heart, to breathe, to appreciate the depth of what I'm experiencing. That is like the first thing, because moving into appreciation will immediately shift your frequency. It changes the channel. And I don't mean appreciation of, oh, but my life could be really good and I could be positive, or I shouldn't be so, maybe it will get better. That's like putting ice cream on top of poop. Appreciate the depth of how intense it is, how miserable it is, how hopeless it really feels. Appreciate what you're actually experiencing, but feeling, hand on your heart and feel with appreciation what you're actually feeling. Feel your physical body, be aware of your thoughts, the ideas, the beliefs. Like I said, you could journal it down. Be present to what it is with awareness, not buying into it. The second thing is to allow it to be exactly as it is. Now, that doesn't mean I'm just going to go take action on this and that's what it is. It means I am willing to experience this in this 10 seconds right now. Doesn't mean I'm willing to live with this for the rest of my life. No freaking way. And that is not what's meant for you. It means I am willing to experience what I'm experiencing right now, if only for 10 seconds. I'm willing to experience what I'm experiencing in this 10 seconds. And then breathe to allow a shift. So appreciate, willing acknowledgement, and then breathe to allow a shift. Actually breathe into your chest, breathe in light, and then exhale, let your body relax, whatever it takes. When you let your body relax, you're going to feel things more intensely, not less. It's okay. Let in light. I highly advise anyone who's dealing with suicidality to get as much support, professional support, as you possibly can. Don't think you have to go it alone. Try this exercise and be aware of what that brings you, because you may have greater insight of like who you could work with. You may have greater awareness of like, I'm totally worth going through this process and coming to the other side of it. But breathe light into this space of heart. It creates heart-brain coherence. It gets you off the channel where you're linking into the grief, fear, hopelessness, where hopelessness is real and that's the only reality that you're accessing. It creates shifts and changes in your brain that allow those old patterns and links of how your nervous system, your brain cells are communicating to loosen up, to begin to, they're not so strong anymore. And I'm talking about pathways of I'm not okay, I'm not enough, and memories of all the ways it really isn't okay, and memories of like kind of evidence of the hopelessness to loosen up, so they're not like the only reality that you're accessing, their only thought that you can think, to allow a remodeling in the brain. It's called neuroplasticity. When you do this heart-brain coherence, and I have a video in YouTube on heart-brain coherence on my YouTube channel that will help you practice into this even more. But when you come into that alignment, focusing on this space of the heart, it loosens up everything you're tuning into on like the radio frequency of the mind. And that's the biggest glitch. The mind will really link you into all the ways it's real and it's true and it really is impossible. And when you allow even just a subtle 2% loosening of that, you will immediately feel that register in your system, in your body. Okay, I'm going to speak to some of these questions. Okay, the live viewers will start to hop on her comments. Shall I invite her to join? Perfect. So did she comment? So Christina, if you're in here, make a comment so I can tap on you. All right, Kate says, I did something like this recently when I was feeling really depressed and I was surprised. A huge amount of anger came up. Yeah, anger is a higher frequency than despair. And so that is evidence that you're actually moving up on the scale. Like, screw this. Why am I letting other people tell me who I am and what I'm about? Or forget this person, maybe you were traumatized in the past. To access anger will bring you into a higher frequency. Kate says, after that, I didn't feel depressed anymore. Yeah, letting yourself, that second step, I witness and honor what I'm feeling right now. To let yourself feel it will also dissipate the energy. It will bring you into a higher frequency because what you resist persists. So if you're resisting the despair and the anger and the depression, it actually keeps it stuck. And this is not the same as saying, just go act on it and, don't try to make it go away. I'm saying when you are willing to allow yourself to feel what you feel, the energy will move. Nicole says, perfect timing. I've been ill, severely anxiety, panic, and the suicidal thoughts are constantly coming in. I knew I needed to address this in the community because it's here. It's real. Right now, suicides are at an all-time high, and that's because there's so much energy of despair and fear in our collective right now. Okay, Christina. How do I get you here? Okay, let me look at, I can't figure this out yet, Christina. Christine McDermott says, does this apply to extreme chronic fatigue as well, with all of this being the underlying factor? Yes, and I have some other videos on chronic fatigue on my YouTube. It is so important with chronic fatigue and brain fog that we acknowledge, like, yes, this is a real thing. Yes, your physical body will manifest markers of this. Yes, it's maybe even in your DNA. It's not that I'm saying it's not real. I'm saying that you can allow yourself to move through it in ways we hadn't considered in the purely physical realm of medicine. Alex says, I found myself constantly being in a miffed argument with myself when it comes to self-love because I've been choosing shame for so long. I justify my suicidal thoughts and depression because I'm justifying how unworthy I am because of my shame. Okay, so thank you for calling this out, because it's shame and how we buy into the wrongness of us that anchors us into that grief, depression, hopeless frequency where we really do believe we are wrong. When we really do believe, yeah, but I've done these things in the past, and yeah, but I am incomplete or not unholy. I am wrong and bad in some way, and it's usually subconscious. It actually anchors us into that frequency. So am I willing to forgive myself? Because only I really know all the stuff I have done or been or even thought. Am I willing to forgive myself unconditionally? Am I willing to forgive myself unconditionally, to get myself off the hook, to decide that I am worthy of infinite love and belonging. I am worthy of unthinkable amounts of love and blessings. And so look at all the ways I don't think I am, and see if you can find the energy that comes up. Thank you for everyone who's here live, weathering through with me. I do really know it's really worth having Christina here. I've had lots of depression in my life and episodes of depression, or even just waves of depression. I've not had a suicide attempt and come through the other side of it. And so I think partly I never really felt like I could speak to this in a way that some other people really could. And Christina gave me the strength to speak to this anyway. I have met unthinkable amounts of despair. And it's not about, oh, I'm just so happy and I don't have that. It's really about my willingness to meet it more fully and more fully and more fully. That allows me to reside in greater fluidity and access greater ease and joy in my life. It's not through being strong enough to suppress it and suppress it and suppress it and be happy, peppy girl, and I'm good, everything's good. Most people are actually living there. They're suppressing a lot of anger and hatred and even despair, and they haven't really integrated it. So their level of accessing all of themselves is limited. Their level of abundance, true wealth, health even, will be limited because there's so much energy going into that suppression. All right, let's see if I can spend a minute. There's really nothing here, Jess. All right, I'm gonna complete this after reading some comments, and we're gonna start another Facebook Live with Christina. I'm gonna try to figure out how to do that. And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna make a video with her and I will post it later on today, and then we can, you can chat and comment and we'll have discussion there. So sorry it didn't actually work out to bring her into the live yet, but she is here and I know she'll have a lot to say. Rachel says, can you say something about antidepressants? I had a terrible experience with them and they made me worse. Do they just mask what's meant for us to be felt? Okay, so sometimes we're not in a frequency where we can access that level of light, that level of self-worth, that level of I forgive myself fully, that level of it's okay for me to feel this. It's okay for me to honor what I feel. And so do what you have to do. I have been on antidepressants in the past many, many years, like 20 years ago. It never actually helped me. I don't know if maybe it helped me get through a few years. I do know that in residency, I was the only woman in my group not on antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. And it was because I had an amazing homeopathic doctor and I was on lots of different homeopathics to shift and adjust my frequency to stay in some relative level of ease and move through my residency relatively fluidly. So there are a lot of things we're dealing with, and whatever ways you resource yourself, receive the resources that are available to you. Maybe it doesn't make any sense for you to, I don't even know what homeopathy is. And what seems like the path of greatest ease right now is, okay, let me just receive this medication. Let's see what this does. As you stay open and continue to explore what's going on. The MindBody solution for pain release, although this is not really about physical pain, is super, super helpful for accessing, connecting with a deeper aspect of ourselves and letting energies release. So antidepressants are not wrong or bad. They will adjust your brain chemistry to help your brain not stay on that channel of doom and gloom. Doesn't mean you've adjusted your frequency of what you're grounded into, but it can be helpful in the meantime while you're becoming more conscious. So I hope that's helpful. Katrina, and don't make yourself wrong for being on a medication. Like, let that go. That's a dualistic idea of this is good and this is bad and I should do this, self-healing thing and I shouldn't do this other thing. Like, that's all part of what locks depression in place, is making yourself wrong and being in judgment. So how about I receive all things in grace and ease, and I allow myself to move through this as fluidly as possible. And the other piece that Christina mentioned about finding a meaning that goes beyond what I've known thus far. What if there's something possible that I could receive, that could allow me to move through this, be present to myself, have compassion for what I'm experiencing. And like I said earlier, to appreciate the depth of this experience instead of making it wrong and rejecting it, to receive what I need, receive resource, receive love, starting with receiving love from myself so that I can move through this fluidly. Okay. Katrina says, I had this very strange feeling when I tune into depressive feelings, like my body almost wants this depression so it can rest deeply, if that makes sense. Okay. Yes, it makes a ton of sense, especially with brain fog, chronic fatigue. The body is asking for a reset. Am I willing to be present to the depth of grief that I'm feeling, to the depth of hopelessness that I sometimes feel, so that I'm there for me? Because that's actually how we access source, is by being that for ourselves. I am willing to be the love that I most require. I'm willing to be the compassion that I most require. And sometimes it's just like distilling us down into stop fighting against depression, stop fighting against despair, so that a reboot can happen. Like, give up the fight against it. I'm not saying give up and just call it a day. I'm saying give up the resistance so that the energy can move through. And that is so key to what allows us to emerge into our natural state of fluidity. So receiving the resources, receiving the love and compassion, being willing to truly feel what you're feeling and not hide it or suppress it or stuff it, and allow in, like I said, a practitioner or someone live who can work with you so that you can actually let these energies move and be supported. Tizvi, I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm sorry. I have very heavy emotions, and just 2 seconds of relief, as you said, the system registers it. However, my system feels so happy and ecstatic, I feel I don't need to take care of myself. I'm done, woohoo. But the truth is, I have more than a mountain, and I feel terrible. Well, that's what happens when we make it a means to an end. Okay, I'm gonna love myself. Oh, woohoo, finally I'm free from that miserable thing. Versus, there's a part of me that is despairing. And maybe I just need it in 10-second increments, but it's not about making that part go away. And it's not about finally being free from this terrible thing. It's about, I love and accept myself infinitely. I will presence these depths of myself until all of me feels the love that's really here for me. So it's not about waiting for it to be gone. It's about letting it be an invitation to let more in. And that's when it will stop being that, oh, woohoo, I'm finally done, now I can be happy, but it's conditional. And then like, oh no, there's really more, I'm not done, where you're in that duality of like good and bad, effortlessness and heaviness. It's a matter of being willing to be present to it all. And that is truly when we access true freedom. Byron Katie has a great story about severe depression, suicidality, and then emerging into the higher consciousness of like, no longer resisting it, no longer fighting it, not succumbing. It's a matter of, because it's eating your energy. Like the energy we put into it is what keeps us on that channel of despair. The energy, what you resist persists, keeps us tuning into it. So that might be another great resource, but it is, it is something that we can allow to transmute there. Oh, one more comment. Alicia, beautiful Alicia, who I know has also experienced depression, and I would love you to share in the group and in the comments what your experience has been like. She said, what you said at the beginning of the live was so true for me. I've been staying in a job for the past 4 years that I don't like to distract myself from my pain. Now my work is really triggering me to the point I've taken a short-term and leave of absence. I don't think work is serving me anymore by suppressing my pain. Yeah, and that actually requires us to meet our pain more fully. And the MindBody solution for pain release was created around physical, mental, emotional pain, the energies we've suppressed. But just as simple as what we've done in this video, to like be willing to meet yourself more fully and breathe, welcome in that space in your heart. And so you're not just residing and strengthening what's happening in the mind, to come into a different level of receptivity. Please, please know it is the appropriate thing to ask for support, to work with someone live, to reach out to the people you love and let them know, like, hey, this is actually pretty profound what I'm experiencing. This is pretty profound, the depth of suicidal thoughts or depressive thoughts I'm having. Could you be there for me? Even if you just reach out to one person, but do it with love for yourself, it could really open up a huge amount of resource for you versus the fear that comes from like the wrongness and the stigma, and also the, well, that's other people, I'm not that bad, and you just keep suppressing it. There's nothing wrong with meeting despair, grief, and hopelessness. It actually will open you to a greater level of self-love and unconditional self-compassion than anything you've ever imagined. It allows, for me, it's allowed me to live so much more fully and authentically and fluidly. But I had a lot of really, like, I guess, embarrassment around this and wrongness on this for a long time. And that just created more shame, which anchored in more depression. So be willing to remember you are first and foremost vibrational, that your brain is going to register the channel you're on, and it doesn't mean it's the highest reality that's available to you. And that when you come into greater harmony, appreciating the depth of this pain with compassion, with willingness, it will allow that to release. It will allow it to begin to release and for you to feel something lighter. So get resourced. No, it's not the wrongness of you. This is actually an energy that's been linked into the collective. So if you're depressed and despairing, you're very likely hugely empathic, which means you actually have a great contribution to be on the planet. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, in my greatest moments of despair, the one thing that I would hold is knowing this is the energy of the planet. This is the pain of humanity. And it's been felt as my own pain as well. And as a member of humanity, I will hear that call that I have, the pain that I've had. I will listen with compassion and willingness, and I will open to a higher possibility for myself and for everyone involved. It doesn't mean I always wanted to do it. It just means I always knew, like, that there's the choice to move with it and embrace my experience, or there's the choice to end it, which inevitably it's still, I don't end with my death of my body. So somehow this lesson is going to need to be realized at some point. And hey, bring it on. Let's do it now. And invite in, because I always have everything I need, even if I'm not perceiving it. Invite in the resources that will assist me in moving through this and beyond it into something much higher. So with deep, deep love and immense compassion, thank you for viewing this video, for being here live. And I will tune in for comments that come later on from those who are listening to the recording. And I've done the best I can. I am certainly not a suicide doctor, expert, or a psychiatrist or any of that. I was trained as an emergency medicine doctor. There was a lot of deep levels of hopelessness, despair, grief that I moved through, and the energies around me when I was in my residency at a level 1 trauma center. And even way before that, having experienced my own depression and not knowing what to do with it and thinking something was wrong. So I will speak from that standpoint and just offer whatever it is I can from this point going forward. And I will continue to live in compassion for myself and for the depth of what I experience, for whatever contribution that may be to others. So lots of love, and I'll see you soon.